Welcome, my viewers and listeners. There is a popular saying that anticipate no gains and recognize all losses. As per this principle, the business house or the accountant has a tendency to understate the assets, income, and capital on the one side and to overstate the liabilities and the expenses on the other side. Not only that, due to this principle, the accountant and the business house also creates different type of the provisions. As we know, the provisions for bad and doubtful debts, provision for income tax, provision for workmen compensation, and also other various provisions are created. The object of this principle is that when an expenses will be incurred by a business, that expenses amount must not exceed the amount shown in the books. On the other hand, when an income will be received or receivable, that receipts or receivable amount must not be less than the amount shown in the books of the accounts. Overall, this principle is called the principle of conservatism prudence. This principle actually also gives birth of the sacred reserve. Our main object of this discussion to know how the sacred reserves are created, whether the creation of the sacred reserves are logical as per generally accepted accounting principles, and so on. Sacred reserve is actually the difference between the real value of a business and the book value of the business. We can say there is a sacred reserve in a business when the total net worth or the total value of a business is higher or greater than the book value of that business. Now I am coming how this sacred reserve is created. In general, when the income, assets and capital they are undervalued means they are shown in the books of accounts in less amount than its original or real value in the one hand, and on the other hand, when the expenses and liabilities are shown in the books of accounts by a greater amount than its real value, then we can say a sacred reserve has been created. We should understand that the sacred reserve is not allowed as this principle of the conservatism of prudence through which the sacred reserves are created, actually it violates the other basic principles of accounting. Sacred reserve or creation of the sacred reserve violates the principle of full disclosure of accounts in the books of accounts, and also it violates the principle of consistency. That is why the sacred reserves in general is not allowed or is not accepted to be created in the business. Now, when these segregated reserves are created, or the assets and liabilities, income or expenses, whether it is overstated or understated, how does it affect in the books of accounts? Normally, when the segregated reserves are created, it actually affects both the profit and loss account and the balance sheet as a whole. In general, the profits become less than its original amount, or the profit is shown in the profit and loss account in a lesser amount than its original amount, whereas the net worth, as we can find from the balance sheet, this net worth will be also less than the original net worth of the business as a whole. Now I am coming another way how the profit is decreased in the technical way. Suppose a business organization has acquired an asset. When the asset is acquired, during the initial years of the use of the assets, the rate of depreciation or the amount of the depreciations has been charged in a higher rate. What happens by charging the depreciations at a higher rate? Normally, depreciation is one kind of the item which reduces the profit. So when the depreciation is being charged at a higher rate or shown by a higher amount in the profit and loss account, normally the profit will show less than its original value or the original amount. In the subsequent years, the organization decides to increase the amount of the depreciation. So in the latter years, what happens? The profit started to show a greater amount. Not only that, due to this different rate of charging the depreciations at the initial years and the subsequent years of the use of that asset, the book value of a particular asset may show zero value in the books. But in fact, or in reality, there is a good value of the asset and the good existence of the assets, and the business is using the assets in full-fledged and in a proper manner, whereas the books of accounts for that asset or the asset register for that asset is showing a zero value. So these are some of the logical and illogical ways for the applications of the principle of conservatism of prudence. The logical is that it is logical because these principles helps a business to protect it from unnecessary losses, and on the other hand it is illogical because this principle actually leads the accountant and the organization towards the creation of the segregated reserve, the window dressing, and violating the principle of consistency, principle of full disclosure as a whole. I think we understand a little bit regarding what is the principle of conservatism, prudence, what is segregated reserve, how the segregated reserve actually causes impact on the books of accounts, that is in the balance sheet as well as in the profit and loss account. In the next class, we shall discuss the principle of duality, and on the basis of the principle of the duality, we shall come across the accounting equation, and with some practical applications of the accounting equations with few small sums as a whole. Up to that time or till that time, I thank you to all of my listeners and viewers.